Institutions, India. Australia Education Foundation has been empowering educators, school leaders, students since last many years, and providing a global perspective to them and intercultural learning skills and paving a way to shape a future with Asian schools. Indirapuram group of institutions have been in education industry since last 20 years and promoting academic excellence and holistic learning. So, OneFold has collaborated with Indirapuram Group of Institutions and Asia Education Foundation to bring to you all this session, which is on impact of remote learning, how it has affected our primary stakeholders, students. So why? What is the objective behind this session? So there have been numerous discussions going on all around the globe, school leaders, educators, tech experts, all coming together and discussing about this new normal of teaching, online teaching, and what are the effects and the different online teaching tools. But what about students' point of view? What about their perspective? So this is the objective of this session. We need to understand their perspective. We need them to tell us their point of view. We need them to share their experiences. Why? Because there will be a lot of learning for all of us as educators, as teachers, and of course we can improvise. We can make it better for them. So that is why we bring to you this session. For this session, I'm so happy to tell you that we have participants from Indian schools and from Australia, South Oakleigh School. From India, we have 3 schools participating here in this session. Radiant International School, SVIS, Sri Venkateshwara International School, Delhi, and Mayo College, Ajmer. And of course, South Oakleigh College, Melbourne, Australia. So I will be introducing the participants to you right now. I again extend a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you so much for being here today. And so let's begin. Okay, so we go in the alphabetical order. I start with Aaron. So hello Aaron. Aaron is from Radiant International School. He is standard 10 student. Let me tell you about Aaron. Aaron is very much interested into business strategies, finance, investment. Aaron aspires to be an entrepreneur, an investor, and Aaron loves playing video games. Good to know that, Aaron. Then I move on to Agrim. So Agrim is from Mayo College, Ajmer. Agrim is 11th standard student. Agrim is a debater. He participates in a lot of NUNs and he aspires to represent our country on international forum as a diplomat. Good to know that, Agrim. Then I move on to Arjun. Arjun Garg is a 12th standard student from Sri Venkateshwara International School, Delhi. Arjun shares his interest of business strategies and finance with Aaron from Radiant. Arjun is also interested in the same. He also wants to have a startup of his own and use a lot of modern technology where the production can be maximized. But let me tell you one thing about Arjun. Arjun runs a non-profit initiative led by students, which is working on minimizing pollution levels in the city. And they are doing it by conducting plantation drives in the city. Arjun, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. More power to you. Then I move on to our Australian participants. And we have Brody, who is a year level 10 student. Brody likes legal studies and modern history, and his interest lies in carpentry. And Brody, I hope I get it right. And then we have Esther Walker with us. She is a year level 10 student. Esther wants to pursue her career in medicine. That's wonderful, Esther. All the very best to you for that. Then we have year level 8 student, Georgia. Am I getting your name right, Georgia? Okay. Georgia, she is a year level 7 student, and Georgia, her interest lies in art, and she wants to pursue arts. She wants to study art in university. All the very best, Georgia, for that. And then we have Jenna. She is year level 8 student. Jenna loves performing art and also English, and Jenna wants to become a dancer or a director. Interesting, Jenna. And then we have Karthik, year level 7 student. Welcome, Karthik. Karthik loves mathematics, science. He also loves to read history, geography. He is interested in problem solving. That's a whole lot of interest, Karthik. You're welcome to the discussion. So now we have introduced all the participants to you. We will start with the discussion now. I want to give more time to the participants to talk about different aspects that we are going to take up today. It's an informal discussion. There be a free-flowing discussion, and let us understand their perspective. Can I have slides, please? So I'll just give you a brief overview of what we are going to do today. We are going to just talk about a few discussion pointers, and then we will start with the discussion. Next slide. Okay, so this is the session, Impact of Remote Learning, and informal discussion with the primary stakeholders, our students. Discussion pointers, please. This is all what we are going to talk about today. I'll quickly just give you an idea about what we are going to do today. What are we going to discuss? A few things. What are their thoughts on remote learning, online classes? What is their understanding? What is their understanding of blended learning? How is it beneficial to them? How was this transition from physical classes to virtual ones? Because in India, we have been into remote learning since March. Victoria, they got back to physical classes a while back, then there was a holiday, and then again they are back to remote learning because a lockdown has been implemented again. Even in different states in India, we are going back to lockdown, and we are still in remote learning. So how was this transition for them? Was it too stressful for them to manage their screen time, assignments, the social isolation, their socio-emotional well-being? How has it affected their well-being, their mental well-being? Because they are distanced from their friends, from their teachers. They are closer to their families all the time. They are at home. So how has it affected them? Have they grown closer to their families, more connected with their teachers, or have they drifted apart? Then there is a learning gap which has been created with this new normal of teaching. Do they think it needs to be filled when the schools reopen, or the then of course I would like to know from them that how has this new normal of teaching empowered them? Because as an educator, I can say that it has empowered us. We have learned a lot, and we have evolved as educators, and I think it has made us stronger and more effective and more productive. So basically, I want to understand these things from them. And of course, there's one more thing. Are they looking forward to reopening of the schools? And the assessments, do they really think it has helped them? And was the assessments really required? So now what we do is we take up the questions one by one, and every participant gets to speak. So let's get the ball rolling and we get into the discussion mode. So can we have the first question, please? Okay, so now we get started. The first question that we are taking up is, what are students' thoughts on remote learning or online classes? How was the transition from physical classes to virtual ones? How was it? Was it too stressful to manage the screen time, assignments, social isolation? So basically, what I need to understand from you is, you tell me, how do you feel about this remote learning? How you transitioned, and how have you managed to cope with it? Of course, you are doing great. So let's get it started. So we take the alphabetical order. So we start with Arun.
So now my thoughts on remote learning. So to me, remote learning is the only alternative out there that can still allow us to learn, connect with our teachers while in the time of a pandemic. Now, going on to the question of whether is it too stressful to manage our screen time? Yes. We are sitting here in front of screens for like 2 to 3 hours daily, or at least not daily on weekdays. Then on going on to social isolation, I don't think it is a very big problem for us because we are students, and the fact about going out, we have been given guidelines by the government: wear a mask, wash your hands, and maintain a distance of 6 feet. So it's not that problematic to maintain social isolation. And lastly, assignments. This year, CBSE enforced a rule for us in which they introduced a new type of assignment, which was art integration projects, and we had to do those assignments along with the normal assignments that we did previously. And the thing that infuriates me is that in this time of a pandemic, we have been given assignments from every chapter that exists in the book, and we have to complete that along with our notebooks and yeah, along with our notebook, and we need to submit them to our teachers via MS Teams or whatever means we can get. So yes, it is stressful to manage our assignments. Ma'am, you're muted.
But Arun, I want to ask something. Are these art integrated activities not fun?
Um, ma'am, considering the topic of fun, ma'am, in class 10th, we have already so much pressure has been exerted on us that you need to get a good result in class 10th, and all we are focused on is our academic excellence in this year. That's it.
I
because
don't think. Yes, okay.
because everywhere that you're going to go, they are going to tell you that your 10th result is very important. And we're like, we get it, it is important, and we are trying to work hard. And then we have like, it's not the problem that art integration projects are there. The problem is that their number is so large.
Thank you for the input, Arun. Of course, it will help teachers to understand this perspective. So now we move to Agrim. Yes, Agrim.
Okay. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Uh, I mean, my voice is echoing. Okay, cool, perfect now. Yeah, so basically, let's keep two to three things in mind. First of all, I personally believe that virtual classes can never actually be an alternate. I mean, can never actually take or the place of a physical class, because whatever you learn in a physical class, that cannot be implemented in the same way in a virtual class. Talking about alternative, yeah. I mean, as per the current scenario, virtual classes are the only alternative, I would say, to physical classes. Now, there was some hype about these 3D classes, which is happening in some schools, wherein you actually get an aura of as if you are in a physical classroom. But
Yes, that is augmented reality that you are talking about. Yes.
yeah, but I mean that actually doesn't help, because again, you are in a virtual section, and when you are in a virtual section, it cannot actually implement the kind of mind. I mean, everybody has a mindset towards anything. Now when you sit in a class, be it you know that it's a virtual class. So again, when we talk about mindset, you have a set mindset that it's a virtual class. So again, there's a different thing when we talk about physical and online classes. Secondly, talking about screen time, definitely. Since a lot of time we are using the think small world. And it is actually happening because, as we can see, we are talking to Australian students right now. I don't think it would have been possible if we were not in this lockdown. It would only have happened if we would have gone to Australia for an exchange or something. So definitely the thing of small world is actually coming into play, and we have to manage our screen times accordingly. Now the thing is, when the whole classes are online, and if we need to take part in any extracurricular activity, our screen time will gradually increase. And that's where the social isolation comes into play, because the more the screen time, the more social isolation, I'll say. Because again, you get a lot of family pressure, or pressure from a lot of people, that you are not able to give time every time you're on phone and all that stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it from my side. Thank you. You're muted.
Uh, so, thank you, Agrim, and I completely understand your perspective. And then one thing that you said, that we have come closer in a way because we can interact. The geographical distances do not matter at all. Like today, we are interacting with the Australian students. But of course, everything comes with pros and cons. So it's up to us how we make best use of it, right? Okay, thanks. So now we move on to Arjun. Arjun.
Hello, everyone. So just like Vam said, I think there's both pros and cons to it. Pro is that you can learn more topics in class because teachers don't have to travel to their respective classes. And it's also like sometimes teachers would say, I will like to take 5 minutes extra just to make sure that this topic gets over. And that's the pro. Another big pro that we can see is attendance for each and every class. So in offline classes, we only used to have attendance in the morning. So I think that's a great thing. You can learn who is attending and who is not. And it's just not knowing about who is not there or who's bunking the classes. I think there's a very fascinating opportunity that we can grab here, and it is to learn about the interests of a particular student. For example, a student might love learning about business, and he might attend every business class, learning about different types of distribution strategies. While he might not like his math class, he'd be missing for like 15 days. That really gives us insight into a student's interests. And I think that data can be used very well by the schools to analyze and further help the students grow in their respective fields that he or she is passionate about. About the cons, I think there's one fundamental that's lacking, and that's interaction. I'm not saying that the students and teachers do not communicate or maybe don't talk about topics outside the book. I'm just saying, like, for example, when we used to have events, somebody would get up on the stage and be like, hey, make some noise. And there would be cheers and hoots and excitement. So I think that's missing. And I think that's the part we all miss here in India, like enjoying with your friends, interacting with each other and everything. So I guess that's the pros and cons for me.
Arjun, thank you so much for your insight. It was really, really very helpful, and you have analyzed it so well. And I can just see that you have really coped up with this in a wonderful manner. And thank you so much. Now we move on to the Australian students. So we start with Brody.
Right, is my mic unmuted? Is it working? Hopefully. Anyway, my main problem with the online learning experience is schools are supposed to be catering to all different types of learning styles. So your hands-on learners and your book-smart learners. I know myself, I can't do anything with a book. Everything needs to be by hand. So when you're reduced to staring at a screen all day to get your learning experiences, especially for classes where you need technical skills, so woodworking classes or, say, cooking classes, for example, you can only really study the theory instead of practicing the skills you need to complete those classes. Another thing that is reduced by having online learning is you can't get as much help from teachers as you normally can because you can't physically be there and talk to them it's harder expressing what you need clearly over the internet or over a chat function. I didn't really find too many pros of it. Like I said, I'm not that good online or with books, so there wasn't too many pros for me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Brody. And actually, you are right. These virtual classes cannot suffice for physical classes. And that interaction, the personalized interaction, is really very, very important. But the thing is, this is what we have right now. So we are just making the best of it. Thank you so much. So, Esther.
So remote learning is good in that you can, if you finish the work on time, you can go on to other work and keep working on that and learning more about the topic in more detail. However, it's also easy to get distracted and start doing something from a different subject you might be stressed about. Also, when you're with your friends, that means you have to be on social media or using more screen time, and then that would cause me to have headaches. So it kind of disconnected me from having more social time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Esther. You are right. We get distracted online. We are doing one thing, and then we may start doing the other thing. So maybe we are not able to concentrate that much. But then again, we really need to work on that so that we actually divide compartments and then we do our work that ways. Okay, thank you for sharing your insight. Now we move to Jenna.
Personally, I feel that remote learning was a completely different experience to offline learning, because one of the main things for me, like what Brody said, it's all about having hands-on, and one of the main things that the classes was changed was in English. In English, I feel a lot of the classes revolve around having class discussions about what we feel about the text we're studying, that kind of thing. However, when we're online, we don't have the capacity to do that. And this really changes how the curriculum works, especially with things like food tech. We can't really do much cooking, which is kind of what the subject is about. I feel like it's hindered our learning quite a lot in those circumstances. But there were a couple of classes where I felt that remote learning did help me, because, like what Esther said, if you're struggling with one point, you're more flexible in the way you can go back, revise what you did like last lesson, or if you're finished, you can go on ahead a lesson, and then you can really just have more of a learning that tailors to what you need.
Thank you, Jenna, for sharing your experience. Of course, the personalized thing is not there, but then it has given us a more flexible schedule, and we can manage our work. Yes, the experiential learning, the hands-on learning is missing right now. But then, of course, we can manage things with a flexible schedule, and then there are not many resources available, and then we just do with them. Okay, so Georgia, over to you.
I found remote learning quite a stressful experience, mainly because I had just started year 7 at a completely new school where I didn't know many people, and I was just starting to fit in, and all of a sudden we're at home. I found the workload quite stressful the most, mainly because we were doing so many subjects where we required to learn certain skills, and it was quite difficult to learn them virtually, and I found it quite difficult to stay on top of my workload and things. So that's my experience.
Okay, I think Georgia, thanks for sharing. And of course, it is stressful, and since you are new to the school, I think you just need to take it easy. It's not about getting all the work completed on time or all put together. You just go easy, one by one. You do things, because right now we all are going through the same phase. So I think, and of course, your school must be helping out you with this, and connecting with your friends will help. Okay. So, thank you so much for sharing your insight on this. I can understand it is, and now we move to Karthik. Karthik.
So for me personally, I feel like I've seen remote learning from a variety of perspectives. There are multiple advantages and disadvantages, but I see it more from a positive side. But I do agree with many people about the disadvantages. I see that I've been having a lot more time doing work, and it hasn't been as stressful as actually being in the physical classroom. I feel like I can control my screen time, and it's not that difficult. But like many people have said, there's a lot of disadvantages, and you can't actually be there in the classroom doing things that are really important for this subject. There are things such as science where you can conduct experiments, food tech, like Jenna said, where you don't actually do cooking, and many other subjects where you're not getting the full experience. But there are also pros like being in a quiet environment, having your space to yourself, and basically getting more time, like I said. If you have the ability to control your time and how much screen time you're getting, and even though you're staring at a screen most of the time, you can maybe listen more. And if you have that ability, it can turn into more of a positive thing. But even though there are these pros, I feel like being in a classroom is much better than being online because you get the full experience and you be more physical and you can exercise more, you can do more things, and there's a lot more that I feel like you can learn.
Thank you so much, Karthik, and I really love the way you have highlighted the positives or the way you have actually taken it. You are just you're just trying to find the good out of it. And as an educator, I tell you, as a teacher, we really miss students in the class the way you miss the personal interaction with the teachers. But then, fine. Let's see how we can handle this, and you can always interact with the teachers and friends. Maybe that personal touch is not there, but then we are closer with all the softwares and apps that we are using. Thank you so much, students. It was really very insightful, and I could understand it has been stressful for you. It's not only for you as well as for the teachers also, and the lack of physical interaction, that hands-on experience. But then, of course, we are learning a lot. A lot of interaction is happening through your whatever learning management platform you are using, and lot many resources being made available to you of the screen time. So yes, there is a lot of screen time happening, and of course you will have to control that and manage with that. I think you should open to interaction with your teachers and peers. Try to connect with them more and more. It really cuts down the stress level when you are connected. Talking always helps. Okay. So now we will move on to the next question. Can I have the next question, please, on the screen? So this is something very much similar to what we were discussing right now. So I would like to know from the participants that how this entire scenario has affected their socio-emotional well-being. So what I really want to know from all of you is that how has this affected your emotional well-being, your social well-being? How has it affected you emotionally? So do you feel very close to your family now, closer to your family, more connected to your friends because you are not meeting them? So whenever you get an opportunity, you connect with them, you talk to them, you chat with them, or you have a video call with them, more connected with your teachers, or you feel distanced, you think you have drifted apart. So let me know how this has affected you. So, okay, over to Aaron.
Talking about the topic that how has that affected our social, at least my social emotional well-being. It didn't have much of an effect. I don't feel affected in any way, shape, or form. And as for being closer to my family, yes, I feel just a bit more closer to my families. And talking about the topic about being closer to your friends and teachers, yes, I have drifted apart a bit from my teachers. And as for the topic of friends, like we still use social media to chat with each other. We may get video calling. Nah, that's still a far-fetched idea. But yes, we chat with each other, and it does not feel like that we have drifted apart a lot. So yeah, that's all.
That's good. And good to know that you feel more closer to your family. It really helps. Okay. So now I move on to Agrim.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. First of all, talking about the socio-economic well-being, definitely in a lot of scenarios, we can see that a lot of people have been affected emotionally and mentally because of the very long lockdown we have been through. I mean, we have never been used to staying at homes for so long. And now, when there's such a situation, things definitely change. Talking about personally my social well being and my interaction with my family, it has definitely grown, and now we have a better understanding between each other. But again, the thing comes is that, as I said, I mean, priorly, that we need to manage our screen time as well as time with family, which in my scenario, I'm not able to do properly. So again, however close we get to them, we'll always be in a position where they'll actually tell us that you're not giving us time. So that's what I am facing right now. Also, talking about the next question, which was teachers and friends. So definitely, okay. So I was saying that definitely we have, I mean, drifted apart. I'd say drifted apart from our teachers. Not totally, but yeah, till a very great extent because of the physical gap we are in right now. Earlier, we used to, I mean, be really close to them. We used to talk to them. They used to be our just like our parents. But now, I mean, there have been a lot of gaps when we talk about teachers. Talking about friends, we have definitely, made a lot of new friends. I mean, talking about me personally, my whole friend circle has changed, and I have been into a whole. I mean, I have met a lot of new friends. And talking about my old friends, definitely we do stay in touch, but the kind of interaction we used to have earlier is somehow missing. So yeah, that's all I'd like to say.
Okay, thank you, Akrim, for telling us your experience. Of course, we have moved closer to our families and maybe distanced from our friends. That's how you feel, and you have a new friend circle. And of course, as I think we all understand, all the students are having a lot many classes on a virtual platform. So of course, they are busy with those classes. So we all need to understand that. Um, Okay, I now move on to Arjun.
Yeah. I believe that I've surely grown closer to my family than before because I used to have a really tight schedule. I barely could find the time to talk to them with peace. But now I think that has drastically improved. We get some time to talk about our day, and it's kind of great to have someone to talk to. For the teachers, at least for me, I think there hasn't been much of a difference. I used to talk to my teachers before as well, and I'm still talking to them via text or via call. It's surely different, but there's not like a huge impact. But I think what is more important is that it has made me realize more about being independent. Think of it as an opportunity. I think it is great. You can just open Coursera, learn some skills, learn more, grow individually, and help unite everybody in the future with those skills. So I think that has really made me realize what we could do as individuals and not just people in teams. So I think, yeah, that's great.
That's uh, that's wonderful, Arjun. And this really makes me very happy to hear from all of you that you feel that you have grown closer to your families, and it's really a great thing to know. And of course, as individuals, we have a lot of potential, and if we are put together, if we are put at test, we really realize our strength. So that's great. Okay, so now I move on to Brody.
Right. So my experience with growing close to your friends and family, I saw no real change from regular school because it's not like you're supposed to be talking to your friends or family while you're in class anyway. So if you're talking to them and trying to get close to them while you're in class, you're not really learning. So it's a double-edged sword, whether you want to get close to your friends or family or whether you want to keep learning. With the friends aspect, you could, of course, always go to social media or play online games with them. But then it brings up the point, are you spending too much time on the screen? Because I know with our classes, we have 280 minutes of online classes a day. So some people might want to limit their hours to, say, only 2 or 3 hours on the screen time. So there's no real time to talk to friends after that, is what I found.
So Brody, I get a feeling that you're not really you're not really liking this online classes and the remote learning. I can get it from you. But of course, there's no alternative. And what we meant that we are spending more time at home. So I think we are getting more time to spend with our families. Earlier, you were going to school and you were having maybe your social life, interacting with your friends or going out. Now we have most of the times you people are at home with your families. So maybe you feel closer to them. And of course,
my family work 12 hours. So I don't really get a normal day. It's not really changing for me.
Okay, thank you, Brody, for sharing your experience. And over to Esther.
Well, my parents can now work from home, so that means I can spend more time with them and we can like exercise together and watch movies, which is good to draw closer to them. But then with teachers, it's difficult because you are either working by yourselves or in a class setting where you don't really feel comfortable talking in front of everyone about any questions you might have. So it is good that some teachers have made like broken up classes with scavenger hunts around the house, and so that way it's closer with teachers, but then others it's like not so much. As for friends, we have been having calls and playing games where in our room and stuff. So I guess it's about the same for that.
Okay, thank you, Esther. So now I move on to Jenna.
So when it comes to connecting with the teachers, I don't usually connect with them much. It's usually about work. We say hi. It's not like a proper connection that can be changed much. But the thing with remote learning is that because we could now had a new medium to message them, it was almost easier in a way to seek out their help. When it comes to family, I feel on the whole I did grow closer. However, my some of my family who are now working from home, because there's not the time from when they travel home from work, they're always working, so it's harder to see them sometimes, which does kind of make me feel a little bit further away from them than I usually would. When it comes to friends, it's definitely made a difference being in remote learning. It's quite funny because we connect with them almost on a daily basis, and I didn't have many contacts with my friends online, so once remote learning came up, it was kind of hard to establish things and get them going. And then there's the problem of making sure, like, when can we actually talk to our friends? We had issues with calling, and even with messaging, we never knew when each other would be online. But it was a great time for me to actually reconnect with some friends from primary school who I haven't really made many, who I've kind of cut ties with over the past year in high school.
Okay, thank you, Jenna, and good to know that you are reconnecting with your friends. So that's great. Okay, over to Georgia.
Well, definitely affected by remote learning, mainly because I didn't get to see people face to face really at all, because social distancing is a thing now.
And I do feel like I grew closer to my friends and family because me and my friends recognised that our connections and relationships were quite important now that we kind of had we had the space between us. And I definitely grew closer to my family because I got to see them more often than I usually would.
That's great, Georgia. And now we move to Karthik.
I would definitely say that it has been different when talking to your teachers and friends. Like Brody said, throughout the day you use a lot of technology, and then going back on a screen to talk to people, it can be tedious and annoying, and also not good for your well-being. But you can get used to it, and yeah. But when spending time with the family, I feel like definitely I've been spending more time with my family, especially my sister, because my parents have always been on calls and you don't want to really disturb them. But it hasn't been very different. And talking to teachers, they're always online just like us. So I always get help from them whenever I have a question or I don't understand something. But I would definitely like it to be the way things were before.
Thank you, Karthik. And I understand we all are, looking ahead to getting back to our schools and physical classrooms and interacting with our students. But then, of course, this is how we have to manage. And I think we can do that. And as students, you are stronger and you know how to cope up with it. And I'm very sure about it. Okay, can we have the next question, please? Okay, now though we have discussed about it in the very first question, also you people said that these online classes cannot suffice for the physical classes. So, of course, it is more or less similar. We need to know that this online learning paradigm, is it creating any learning gaps? And do you think it needs to be filled? Though we have answered a lot about it. So, what I will do now is maybe I'll just ask 2-3 of you to emphasize more on this. Arjun, can you please take up this question?
Sure. As we shift the learning methods from that of a classroom to an online meeting room, I think there's definitely some gaps that would be created and have been created recently. I still believe it's about interaction that we have to work on, as students have not been working in teams together as often they did in class and not been able to participate in many class activities as we used to. Teachers aren't being able to interact that well with the students on a personal level, which used to happen in school. And I also think it's about competitiveness. Like 10 days before the exams, you were going to start and you would be able to read the face of your friend and ask him, how much have you been studying recently? And he'd be like, no, nothing much. And 10 days later, he'd be like, I don't see why I got a 99. That's under perfection. And I really think that we need the environment which we can't get while at homes, because we aren't used to doing all the studies at our home. And then the screen time also adds to being tired. I mean, to be honest, I'm not as much as efficient I used to be. And while I was going to school and then coming back from home and studying, so I think that was more efficient because of the environment that I had.
Thank you so much, Arjun. I completely understand your perspective, and I think we all are. We all feel the similar way. And Arun, would you like to talk about it?
Yes, I have just one concern with this online classes in case of studies. That is that we lack the experience that we get from experiments, mainly in science. That's it. I don't have any other problems with learning gaps in this new surroundings or in this new system. Like, that's absolutely it. You.
Okay. And how do you feel about these virtual labs, Aaron, since you talked about experiments?
Virtual labs. The experience that you get from seeing it firsthand is just different and cannot compete with anything that you can get from a uh, virtual word or a virtual exam.
Oh, I completely agree with it. I mean, you get a real lab experience cannot replace a virtual lab experience. But still, I think virtual labs are in some way helping out the students because this is what
They may be
we
some
have.
they are helping out, but they have not been implemented in a very widespread manner
Okay,
and
okay.
are still rare.
That's a good feedback. Okay. Uh, from Australian students, I want Brody to talk about this and then Karthik. Okay. So tell me about it.
So when we're doing the sorry, can you mute your mic? Thank you. When we're doing the online. It's unmuted again. When we're doing online learning, things can get lost during the lesson. Take, for example, maths when the teacher, is how you say, explaining. When the teacher is explaining equations on the board and theorems, it can get lost. So when you go into the next lesson, the teacher can be doing an entirely different subject, or it can be even doing tests on something that you were supposed to learn, say, 4 or 5 lessons ago that you just didn't pick up because the internet might have been bad or it just was hard for you to pay attention. The teacher can also, when it's online, go too fast, if you understand what I'm saying, as in they can rush onto the next subject without checking all the students to see if they've thoroughly understood the subject or not.
Okay, Brody, what I get from you is, of course, we need to get back to physics classes to fill in these gaps, right? Yes, I agree with you on this. Okay, Karthik. Karthik, please unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted now? So as I was saying, when you're talking about learning gaps, like Brody said, you're not experiencing, or the Indian student said, you're not experiencing as much as you would when you're in a physical class, and you're not also, like, you may not get the explanations of the teacher when you're talking to them, and it may cause a lot of difficulties, and there's a lot of technical difficulties that are possible to happen. And yeah, I feel like these should be filled in on online learning, whereas in a physical class, it would be normal and you would get the full experience.
Thank you, Karthik. So what I really derived from all of you when you talked about it is you indeed feel that we need to get back to physical classes to fill in these learning gaps. I completely agree with you. Online classes can never suffice for physical classes, and we need to get back to these face-to-face classes to fill in these learning gaps. Okay, so can we move on to the next question, please? Again, this is something which is related to what all we discussed. What I need to know from you specifically, you will have to tell me what is your understanding of blended learning. What do you understand by this term, blended learning? I need to know from you. Do you really understand what blended learning means? And then you will have to tell me that how has this new normal of teaching empowered you? We know you talked about how you are not very happy about it and you need to get back to the physical classes and everything said, and I completely agree with that. But now you need to tell me, how has this empowered you and what is your understanding of blended learning? So for this question, I want Agrim to talk about it.
So, thank you, ma'am. So basically, can you please mute yourself? Yeah. So basically, when we talk about blended learning is something which I personally feel has benefited us to a great extent. But again, as as said again and again, that online classes can never ever, suffice what a physical class does. Also, we need to take into consideration that, about people. We guys are, we all of us here have been born with silver or maybe golden spoons in our mouth, and we have actually a platform to learn. But there are a lot of people who do not have a platform, who cannot attend these online classes. There are actually people who cannot even afford physical classes, and online classes for them is like something which might not be even there for them for the, in the next coming 10 years as well. So we need to talk about that as well, what I feel personally. And can this second question please be displayed again?
Yes, Agrim, we want to know that how has this new normal of teaching empowered you? How do you feel it has empowered you? In what ways?
Okay, so the new, my understanding for the new normal is like the classes we are having every day. So I don't think that it has actually empowered us till a great extent. Also, it has actually, made us very lazy, I'd say, because if you talk about online classes, I've seen a lot of people, and to be very honest, I've done it myself as well. That I just open the class, mute myself, close my camera, and leave. So that is done by a lot of people, and that is actually the reality. And also, a lot of time it happens that a school specifies a schedule, and the student, not even the teachers follow it. They put classes according to their time schedule, or even if they follow it, there are some glitches or maybe time constraints due to online technicalities. So I'd say that it has not actually empowered us, rather it has put us in a situation where we are forced to do such things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Agrim, for sharing your perspective. Now, out of Arin and Arjun, who would really like to tell me, how do you feel empowered by this new normal of teaching? Who would like to speak first? Arjun, can we take it up?
Sure. So I think blended learning has been a part of our system at SVI since like a long time now. So there were usual classes, we would write some notes, and then the additional notes or any other reference materials, the teachers would send it to us over WhatsApp or maybe the YOLO app that we've been using. Now for Microsoft Teams, I think it's really useful because when you have exams or you're studying, instead of locating worksheets or score sheets, you have everything in a centralized place, which makes it easier to locate. And I also believe that features such as sharing your screen is amazing sometimes because teachers can visually show you how things are working. And these methods are sometimes useful. And I also think it is great to when we shift to offline learning. So, for example, when we have board exams or we have final exams, imagine if you have like any doubts or anything, or your friends have some doubts, you can just instead of traveling to your school because that time it's a very precious time. So we can simply log into Microsoft Teams and ask our doubts from our respective teachers and save so much of time. So I think this has also made us realize about the various possibilities that we weren't considering before. And I think that would be a great idea.
Thank you so much, Arjun, for really speaking about the pros of this new normal of teaching, learning, and how it has empowered you. I think it has made us more and more tech friendly, and brought us closer when it comes to communicating and talking or discussing about academics. Thank you. So now I want Jenna to tell me. Jenna, would you like to take this up and tell me, do you understand what is blended learning? First, let me know that.
learned how to use much. In time, I've kind of come to understand how it's mixing from working on paper to using different forms of technology to work, and I think it's been quite beneficial because you get to, in online learning, everything's in the one place. And also there are some teachers who have been already working a lot on the computer. Like my science teacher has been posting up pictures of the board work on a feed where all the students can see, and everything was already ready. But with online learning, a lot of teachers, I feel, weren't used to how it worked. So it was really beneficial for, I think, all of us who are going through this to learn how to use this technology to it's the best of its abilities.
Thank you, Jana. That's wonderful. So, anyone else from the Australian participants would like to speak about it? You can just raise your hand. How has it empowered you? Esther, would you like to say something?
For my schedule, I normally have 3 lessons, a 70-minute period per week of one subject. So the first 2 we will normally be doing like a PowerPoint with the teacher and asking any questions we have. And then the last one will be doing our own like mini assignment for the week and doing our own revision on what we've learnt. So I think like the blended learning with the teachers teaching us and then us doing our own learning by paper instead of computer has been beneficial.
Thank you, Esther, for sharing your perspective. And Karthik, would you like to say something?
Not really. How has it empowered us? I feel like for me, it has given me more time to work on things which I may not have catched up on. And yeah, it's given me more time. And I feel like that's all. I have a better schedule than before. And there hasn't been too many distractions bothering me when I'm in a learning environment at my house.
Great. Okay. So good to know that you have become more tech friendly and you know how to use technology better, in a better way. So can we move on to the next question, please? Okay. So this is something I want to know from the Indian students, because in Victoria, Australia, schools were reopened for a short while and then they had holidays and then they're again going back to remote learning for year level 1 to 10. Year level 11 and 12 will have the face-to-face classes. But in India, we have been in lockdown since March and that is how we are continuing. So I want Indian students to tell me that, of course, I can understand from whatever we shared till now that, of course, you are looking forward to it, but then maybe you can voice your opinion. So please tell me about this. Are you looking forward to schools being reopened? So we start with Arun.
Yes, I am. And that's all.
Okay. And Agrim.
Okay, so ma'am, definitely. I mean, there are 2 to 3 things. The thing is that I am in a boarding school. So when you are in a boarding setup, you do not actually have access to phones or access to a lot of technological stuff. So I mean, as you talked about blended learning and all that. So there's a thing. I mean, if we get back to our schools, we won't have access to all the assignments and all the material, study material we have right now. So talking about reopening of schools, definitely I'd love to get back to schools and I'd love to actually interact with teachers and everything. But at the same time, what I have learned or what I have experienced through virtual learning or remote learning would go away. So again, the whole concept of online learning for specifically borders stands null and void, I'd say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Agrim. Arjun.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to. Okay. Yeah. I'm really looking forward for the schools to get open, first thing I'm going to do is hug all of my friends. It's literally been like 5 months. I haven't seen them. Last time I was at school, I think it was for my final term scores. I'm really looking forward to go back, working in teams, learning together, building, exploring new things, organizing or maybe visiting a debating round, going to annual inter-house competitions, organizing tech events or business events. And I think because it's my senior year, I equally wish to have fun. And perhaps if we get that trip that we have each senior year, that would be great. If someone's listening from my school, yes. And finally, going back to the normal way of teaching, giving our eyes less burden, more motivation, and a better environment. So, concluding everything, I'm really excited to go back to school. And please remember about the trip. Make sure that happens.
Thank you so much, Arjun. And good, through this platform, you have placed your request. But you know, traveling is not at all advisable in the present scenario. And I don't know how long it's going to be like this. And though this question was directed to all the Indian students, but of course, Australian schools are getting back to remote learning with the lockdown being extended. Year 11, level 11 and 12 being an exception. So, how do you feel about it? Like, Georgia, I would like to know from you that are you thinking that, oh God, we are back to remote learning, so when are we going to get back to physical classes again?
Quite well. I can't hear you.
Yes, please go ahead. I can hear you. Sorry?
I didn't quite understand.
Okay, so I want to know from you is that are you looking forward to physical classes to resume? Because you are again back to remote learning.
Absolutely. Because I struggle during remote learning, especially because I didn't really get to see many people. So I'm definitely looking forward to physical classes returning.
Thank you. And I assume everybody has to say the similar thing. Everybody is looking forward to physical classes, getting back to school, meeting your friends, interacting with your teachers, spending time in the school campus. And I can actually understand how you feel about it. There is there's one question that I would like to ask, and one Indian student and one Australian student. So this is about assessment. So there have been assessments happening in school. So I want to understand from you, do you think it really helped? Was it really needed? So I want Arun to talk about it.
For the need of assessments, yes, they were needed because right now in our board exams for the previous year, they were awarded marks for some of the subjects from the internal assessments that happened in the schools. So yes, internal assessments are a need, whether it's a pandemic or it's not a pandemic, and how assessments are being happening. So they are conducting tests on objective based questions and not subjective based questions. Now I know that subjective based questions can't be are not a possibility here, but yes, I am happy that they are conducting tests on objective based questions, and then they are marking us for our copies and the art engagement projects that we are submitting. So yes, the assessments are not a whole lot different from what happened in our school, and yes, they are need, even though it's a pandemic.
Yes, that's right. That's the right spirit, and I really like that. And from Australian students, did you have any assessments in your school? If yes, you can just give me a go ahead. You had assessments happening in the school? Okay. So, Karthik, how do you feel about it? Was it needed? Did it help?
I definitely think that assessments were very helpful in online learning. it helped us, even though we're online and we don't have to do it. If you were to participate in an assessment, it helps you study more, because like any other test, you would study a lot more and you would try to memorize more and use that information for the test or the assessment or later in life. And like that, assessments are definitely needed. They're the main thing in teaching and learning as well. And they are a necessity, I feel.
Thank you, Karthik, for sharing your perspective. Brody, would you like to speak about it?
The problem I have, once again, as with everything, with the whole online learning assignments is tests are supposed to be put into this one big graph. So at the end of the year, you can look at your progress for the year. The problem is with online learning, you can't possibly learn as much as you can in classrooms. So obviously, naturally, you will do a bit worse on this test. So it'll just become an outlier in your overall mark, and as such, wouldn't give you an accurate data set of your overall progress throughout the year.
Yeah, I think it's true, because the learning is not happening at the same pace, and that much of learning is not happening. Everybody has a different, you can say, levels of learning, and assessing them during this time may not be that effective. But then, of course, that's how we are carrying on with things. We have more or less discussed every possible aspect, and what I make out of it is you all are looking forward to get back to your physical classes. You are, of course, you are doing it well, you are managing it, you are perfectly handling it, the splendid learning and the online classes and activities and projects, everything that is happening, and assessments. And students are like, they are handling it so well. And I know schools are giving the support, and of course we need to support our students, and you as students also need to understand the efforts that teachers are putting. Using this platform, I would like to convey this message, that there goes a lot in planning one single class, because there are a lot of resources being shared, and then teachers actually learned handling these online tools. Many of them were not well versed with it. You people are pretty tech friendly. So I think there's a lot of effort that goes in from teachers' side, and of course from your side. You all need a pat on your back for handling it so well. So now we'll be taking just a few questions from the Q&A section, because we are getting questions, and of course we have given a lot of time to the discussion, and that is what I wanted to do. So quickly we take over a few questions, and it will be open to all of you. So any one of you can just raise your hand and answer that question. Okay, so let's get started. Let's take up a few questions. So what I can see on the screen is, and of course I'll be taking in the name of the person who has asked this question. Okay, give me a moment. Fine. So the first question, of course we have talked a lot about it. So this question is, what do you miss the most about going to school? This question is being asked by Anushna Jha. She's an independent researcher in education. Thank you, Anushna, for asking this question. Yes, yes, please take up this question, Jenna.
Well, I really discussions in discussing how I'm feeling about the text and a lot of issues that we bring up. But another thing that I really love is taking part in the school production. It's a really fun part, because it's one of the only extracurricular activities to do with performing arts, and that's probably one of my favorite parts about being at school with
Thank you, Jana. Anyone else would like to answer this question? What do you miss the most about going to school? Quickly, so that we can move on to the next question. Yes, Agrim?
No, I'd say sports because definitely, I mean, in my school there are a lot of sports around 30 to 40 sports or maybe more. So I used to do at least five or six of them. So I definitely miss sports. Definitely, the school is back from online sports. That does not suffice again, because I mean the real feel of actually being on a tennis court or actually doing just conditioning online is very much different. So one thing I definitely school is sports.
Okay, thank you, Agrim, for answering this question. We move on to the next question now. This question is from one of the students of Radiant International School, Bhavya Bhaskar, and she is asking, what will education be like in the future? Will there be a major change in education, or will it stay relatively the same? Do I need to repeat the question? What education will be like in the future? Like, is it going to undergo a big change, a drastic change, or it will be more or less similar? So, who would like to take up this question? Okay, Georgia, please go ahead.
I definitely feel like there won't be a huge impact when it comes to the education, but I feel like there would be a major impact on the way we look at schools and the way we feel about it. I know a lot of me and my friends, we feel like it is quite a special place to us now, and we're very grateful that we have this opportunity, because I know there are many people across the world that do not have as many privileges as we do. So I'm very grateful now for this wonderful privilege I have to be educated properly by expert teachers, and also to be able to see my friends every day.
Thank you, Georgia, for taking up this question. And now we move on to the next question, which is from Mayo Sarfa, Brit School Partnership Officer, Asia Education Foundation. Thank you for this question. She is asking that what is the positive impact and challenges of remote learning in student social interaction? So I think we discussed about it, but then if Arjun, would you like to take up this question? I'll repeat the question. Should I repeat the question to you? She's asking about the positive impact as well as the challenges of remote learning in social interaction. That's what you're
The positive impact. Yeah, the positive impact is definitely that we can talk in teams. I mean, you can talk into groups. Like some days, if someone's in another stream, like if I'm in commerce, someone's in humanity, we cannot communicate with each other. I might have a game spirit, they might not have it, and we might be working on a common project. So I think that's great. You can learn with people and you can understand each other better while you're online, because the classes, the timings are centralized, and then you can talk to them because you don't have to go outside now. About the challenges, I still think it's about the brainstorming part that happens while in the classroom using boards and learning about systems prototyping. So I think that is what is missing. But it has also enabled us to learn about online systems and realizing about these free online tools that we have, and the power to actually create something with these tools.
Thank you, Arjun. Anyone from the Australian students would like to take up this question, or we can move ahead to the next question? So let's move to the next question. Okay, now the next question. Okay, I really like this question. What has been the most important lesson you have learned during this pandemic so far? And Eugene Roscoe, she's the Vice Principal of Christchurch School, Mumbai, asking this question. So what lesson you have learned? What is the most important lesson that you have learned? And I really want, yes.
I think the most important thing I've learned is control, because there are so many distractions when I have family who's working in the same household as me. There's noise in where I work, and there's also noise and other distractions on the actual device that I work on. Because we're at home, we can have access to all this social media, and when we're working, we really have to fight to control ourselves so that we don't click onto another tab and do other things like play games while we're working.
Yes, you're right. So we have learned a lot of self-control and a lot of discipline. Yes. Anyone else would like to talk about this question? What is the most important lesson that you have learned in this pandemic? Yes, Aaron.
Ma'am, I learned two things. Firstly, I realized that how important it is to go to school than what I realized before. Like how much I loved going to school when compared to learning in online classes. And secondly, yes, I learned how key time management is in a person's life. When I just go to bed, I realize how much time I have wasted in the whole day, which could have been used for different tasks or learning something else. And after coming out of this pandemic, I just want to be able to manage my time well. That's it.
That's wonderful, Aaron. See, what I feel is everything has some learning in it. There is learning in everything that happens in our lives, and learning must never stop. And of course, this pandemic has taught us self control, discipline, time management, and we have emerged stronger. That's my learning. Okay. So we can move on to the next question. And this question is for my Australian students. Who is asking this question? This question is being asked by Sanskriti. She is from Radiant International School, and she's asking that what type of distractions do the Australian students face while they are in remote learning during this pandemic? And I want begin with either Brody or Esther will talk about it. What distraction Australian students are facing during this pandemic in remote learning? Okay, shoot.
Well, if we in personal, we can ask, and then you can easily get distracted to start talking about something else that you noticed instead of focusing on your lesson, because there's no like teacher to remind you it's time to work now.
Okay, that was great. Karthik, would you like to say something?
No, not really. I feel like yes, there have been many distractions online, and like Jenna said, you need to force yourself to not go on to something else. But other than that, the only distraction I have had is my little sister, but that too can easily be.
Thank you, Karthik. So, anybody else from the Australian students would like to throw some light on the distractions that they are facing while?
Take this one. I know for me, especially with the computers, Google's only a click away, so that's a never-ending stream of entertainment for the day. If you get distracted, say particularly you have a boring lesson, just looking at a teacher's face and talking, Google is, and YouTube, I guess, that goes along with it, is a enticing opportunity.
Yes, thank you for being honest and sharing about it, Brody. And again, I would say that it's all about discipline and self-control, self-restraint that we really have to work on. And that is the only way we can manage this. Okay, I will move on to the next question. And this one question is from Kathleen Kirby, Director, Asia Education Foundation. And she's saying that can students imagine a life in future where schooling is only online? And would that be a good thing or a bad thing? Who would like to take up this question? Please. Yes, Karthik, we go with you first, and then we move on to Ajmer.
So, if I imagined online learning as forever, I would think that everyone would have a lot of freedom, not going to school and spending the time how they would like. But I noticed that maybe freedom isn't what everyone wants all the time. Many people have thought that online learning has turned into a tedious thing, which can be annoying and not as enjoyable as people have thought. And also, it might not give us the full experience that has been said a lot of times, and it also, you might not learn as much as you would in a physical classroom. So to think that online learning may happen for a longer time is kind of scary and also not such a good idea.
I get you, Karthik. I get you very clear. Okay, Agrim, you wanted to speak about it.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, I mean, it's really hard to actually imagine our whole future or our whole schooling being in front of a laptop or in front of a screen. It is actually very scary, as Karthik said. So, definitely that's one thing. Secondly, I mean, there will be a lot of things we'll be missing out if we do everything online. Thirdly, I'd like to say that as for now, I mean, everybody or most of the people have actually, I mean, their time schedule is quite weird. I mean, they sleep maybe at 12 or at 1. I mean, the people who used to sleep at 10 are generally sleeping at 12 when they are waking up late. That's what happening right now. But I'd say that if we actually have a future, I mean, if we see towards the other side of the coin, and if we have classes online in the future, so I'd say that our time management would be really great. I mean, each and everyone who's there, our time management would be really great because we'd know that we need to actually attend these many classes and we need to actually complete these many assignments. So we'll plan our day accordingly. Plus, every time when our parents are on our head, so every time, I mean, we actually turn up doing things better. So yeah, one thing that we'll improve on is time management. But again, that does not suffice the things we are missing out upon, mainly sports. Thank you.
Okay, so yes, please speak, Jenna.
So I think it would be borderline not almost a really bad idea if we went into online schooling for like as a new way, because practical classes are one of the essentials to learning how to do things. If you're studying medicine or you're learning how to be a surgeon, you can't just rock up to your first day of work having no experience. You need to have those times at school with labs and all this equipment so you can learn how to safely use these procedures, because when it comes down to getting a job, you don't want your quality of work and the qualities of employees at your work service you don't want that to decrease because people haven't had a hands-on opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Jenna. So I think we are done with questions, though there are many questions in the Q&A section, but then we have to wind up the session also. And one thing that I would like to say to you all is this remote learning or this new normal of teaching, learning, pedagogy is, I think, has empowered us as educators and you as students. It has made us realize the importance of discipline, of time management, of self control, and it has made you realize the importance of school, going to school, of your teachers, friends. it's really, now I don't think you would ever feel that, oh God, I don't want to go to school today. You won't get a feeling like that anymore once we resume with the physical classes. And I completely understand your perspective on this remote learning, and what you said about screen time, about lot of assignments and projects. It is getting difficult to handle sometimes, and about assessments, and missing the physical interaction, sports, different extracurricular activities. I completely get that, and we miss that as educators too. We really, really miss interacting with our students. But then, of course, in the present scenario, it is advisable to stay at home, take all the precautions, make best use of technology. Let it empower you. Let it make you stronger, right? So thank you so much. Thank you so much for today's discussion, for your inputs, for your insights. It will really help us to improvise this remote learning, and we will work it out. We will make it more and more beneficial for you. And thank you so much for being here, all the participants from different schools. It was a delight hearing you all, and it was an eye-opener for me as an educator, as a school head. And I take this opportunity to thank two very important people who are like pillars of support for this webinar. Kathleen Kirby, Director, Asia Education Foundation, and Rita Singh, Director, Indirapuram Group of Institutions. Without your support, this wouldn't have been possible. I would like to thank Sophie, Manager, Asia Education Foundation. Thank you so much, Sophie, for taking up the initiative, collaborating with all the schools in Australia and bringing us this participation. And I don't think it would have been possible for us to get participation from schools in Australia without your help. So thanks a ton for your contribution. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all the school heads of the participating schools. Helen Cosieres, Principal, South Oakleigh College, Australia. Lieutenant General Surinder Kulkarni, Director, Mayo College, Ajmer. Colonel Prem Prakash, Principal, Radiant International School. Mrs. Neeta Arora, Principal, Sri Venkateshwara International School, Delhi. Mrs. Manisha Sinha, Vice Principal, Radiant International School, and Mr. Pramod Rankavar, Headmaster, Mayo College, Ajmer. Thank you so much for your trust in us, for letting your students participate, be here for this discussion. Thank you so much for supporting us. A big thank you to the tech team, the backup team. I would like to thank Mr. Mohit from OneFold for all your support, and it wouldn't have been possible to manage this entire technical thing without you, and of course for organizing this series. And Dr. Ashish Mittal, he has been behind the scene but doing a very important job managing all the important aspects of this session and helping me moderate the session. Thank you, Ashish. And a big thank you to all the attendees, because I would like to tell you that there are more than 600 participants attendees today with us, and all those who took out time from their busy schedule. It's a weekend, it's a Saturday morning, you are here with us, lending a patient ear and understanding students' perspective, making them feel important, hearing them out. And so thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, students, for being here. Thank you so much. You all stay safe, take all the precautions, and stay healthy. Have a great day. Bye-bye.